Hello, dear listeners, and welcome back to our little sanctuary of stories, tales that wrap around your heart like a favorite sweater. Stories that heal, comfort, and remind us that happiness isn't a place we arrive at, but a path we walk, even when the road feels long and late. Today, I'm taking you to a quiet town in Oregon, where a man named Walter Grayson spends his days with ticking clocks and his nights gazing at a light on a hill, a light that's been calling to him for years, whispering of dreams he thought he'd lost. That light, and the unexpected soul who steps into his life, will show him that it's never too late to pick up the pieces and play a new tune. So, settle in, maybe pour yourself a cup of coffee or tea, and let's step into the story of the light on the hill. Walter Grayson is 65 years old, a clockmaker who lives alone in a small clapboard house on the edge of Pine Hollow, Oregon. His days unfold in a narrow shop downtown, a cluttered space filled with the soft chatter of clocks, their hands ticking in unison, a symphony he's conducted for decades. The shop's got a big window facing Main Street, its glass smudged with time, and a workbench where Walter hunches over gears and springs, his fingers nimble despite the years. He's a quiet man, gray hair thinning at the crown, wire-rimmed glasses perched on his nose, a flannel shirt rolled to the elbows. 10 years ago, his wife, Ellen, left a divorce that came after too many silent dinners, too many dreams grown apart. Since then, it's been just him, the clocks, and the rhythm of a life he's settled into, if not embraced. Every evening, Walter locks the shop, walks the 3 blocks home, and sits on his back porch with a glass of bourbon. From there, he looks up at the hill just beyond town, a low rise dotted with pines, crowned by a single street lamp that glows steady against the dusk. That light's been there as long as he can remember, a fixture maintained by the county, casting its amber halo over the quiet streets below. To Walter, it's more than a lamp, it's a mirror to the dreams he buried long ago. When he was young, he'd wanted to be a musician, a guitarist, strumming melodies in smoky bars, chasing a life of song. He'd played in high school, a beat-up acoustic his prized possession, gigging at local dances with a ragtag band of friends. But life got practical. His dad's hardware store needed him. Then Ellen came along. Then the bills and the guitar went into its case, the dreams fading like an old record. Now, that light on the hill taunts him, a reminder of what might have been, and Walter watches it, night after night, thinking happiness slipped away with his youth. He wasn't always alone with those thoughts. Back in the 70s, he'd sit in his dad's garage, 17 and skinny, picking at chords while his buddies tapped drums on buckets, dreaming of Nashville or La. He remembers one night, a bonfire by the river, the air thick with summer, his fingers flying over the strings as folks danced, Ellen among them, her laugh cutting through the crackle of the flames. "You're good, Walt," she'd said, her eyes bright, and he'd believed her. But his dad's voice echoed louder, "Music don't pay the rent, son." And when the old man got sick, Walter took over the store, traded the guitar for a wrench, then a clockmaker's tools when the hardware business dried up. Ellen stayed through the early years, cheering him on, but the silence grew, and one day she packed a bag, saying, "I can't wait for you to live anymore." He didn't fight her. He fixed clocks instead, their steady ticks filling the void, and told himself this was enough. There was that first gig to a dive bar called Rusty's, just outside town, when he was 19. He'd snuck in with his band, nerves jangling, and played Sweet Home Alabama to a crowd of loggers and locals. The applause was thin, but Ellen, there with friends, clapped loudest, her smile a lifeline. He'd written her a song that year, Ellen's Eyes, a clumsy ballad about her laugh and duet for her on their 3rd date, parked by the river, the radio humming low. She'd kissed him, said, "You'll be famous someday," and he'd held on to that, dreaming of stages and spotlights. But his dad's cough worsened, the store faltered, and by 25, he was selling nails instead of strumming strings, the song tucked into a notebook he lost somewhere along the way. He remembers the county fair, 218, cocky, playing Brown-Eyed Girl on a makeshift stage, the crowd clapping along, Ellen swaying in her sundress. His band won third place, a ribbon he kept in a drawer, and he'd felt invincible, telling his buddies, "This is it. We're going big." But then there was that night at 20, after a fight with his dad. "You're wasting your life, Walt." When he'd packed a bag, guitar slung over his shoulder, ready to hitch to Portland and join a real band. He'd stood at the edge of town, the light on the hill flickering, and turned back, his dad's cough echoing in his ears, guilt heavier than his dreams. The light on the hill became his companion after Ellen left, a silent witness to his solitude. He'd sit on the porch, bourbon in hand, and remember those garage jams, the bonfire nights, the feel of the strings under his calluses. Some nights, he'd pull the guitar from its case in the attic, a scratched Gibson he hadn't touched in years, run his fingers over the neck, pluck a rusty note, then put it back, muttering, "Too late now." He'd watch the light, its glow steady through rain or fog, and feel the weight of 65 years settle in a life lived, but not the one he dreamed. Those nights alone stretched long after the divorce. He'd cook a single pork chop, eat at the kitchen table with the radio on low, the DJ's voice his only company. Some evenings, he'd walk to the shop after hours, sit among the clocks, their ticks a heartbeat he could count on. He tried the guitar more than once late, when the town slept, fumbling through "Hey Jude," the note sour, his fingers stiff. "What's the use?" He'd growl, slamming the case shut, the light on the hill mocking him through the window. It became an obsession every night. He'd watch it, wondering if it shone for someone else's dreams, someone who hadn't let theirs die. Some nights, he'd wander Pine Hollow streets, hands in his pockets, passing houses with warm windows, families laughing, TVs flickering while his own stayed dark. He'd stop by the river, where he'd played for Ellen, and kick a stone into the water, the splash swallowed by the night. Once, after a bad day, clock parts scattered, a customer snapping, he sat down with a pen, started a letter. "Ellen, I'm sorry I stopped." He got 3 lines in, then tore it up, the pieces fluttering to the floor, the light on the hill watching. That was Walter's world. Clocks by day, the light by night, until a chilly October afternoon when the shop bell jingled and everything shifted. He looked up from a stubborn pocket watch to see a woman step in, 60 or so, with short auburn hair streaked with silver, a scarf looped around her neck, and a smile that felt like it carried stories. "You Walter Grayson?" she asked, her voice warm but direct. He nodded, wiping his hands on a rag. "That's me. Clock trouble." She laughed, a sound like a chord struck just right. "No, not today. I'm Clara Mills. Just moved here, but the old Peterson place up the road. Heard you're the man who keeps time around here." Walter shrugged, unsure what to say. "Guess so." Clara lingered, eyeing the clocks, then surprised him. "I'm a pianist," she said. "Used to play in Portland recitals, bars, wherever they'd have me. We're putting on a little concert at the community center next month, local folks, nothing fancy. Thought you might come." Walter blinked, caught off guard. "Me? I don't play anything. Just fix clocks." Clara tilted her head, studying him. "Don't know about that. You've got musician's hands, long fingers, steady. Bet you've got a tune or two in you." He chuckled, "Dry and quick. Used to, maybe. Not anymore." But Clara didn't back off. "Used to's a start. Think about it, Walter." Could use a friendly face in the crowd. She left with a wave, the bell jingling behind her, and Walter stood there, the pocket watch forgotten, Clara's words rattling in his head. He didn't plan to go. Concerts weren't his thing to many people, too much noise. But that night, watching the light on the hill, he thought about Clara, her easy smile, her talk of music, and felt a tug he couldn't shake. Maybe it was boredom, maybe curiosity, but a month later, he found himself at the community center, a low brick building strung with fairy lights, folding chairs filled with townsfolk. Clara was at the piano, her fingers dancing over the keys, pulling out a melody that hit Walter like a memory worm, alive, a little sad. She played a mix Chopin, some ragtime, a slow ballad that hushed the room. When she finished, the applause snapped him back, and she caught his eye, grinning. "Told you I'd get you here," she said later, pouring him coffee from a thermos. "What did you think?" He fumbled. "Good. Real good. Made me. Remember stuff." She nodded, like she understood, and said, "Music does that. Wakes things up." He went home that night, pulled the Gibson out, and played Ellen's Eyes for the first time in decades, halting rough, but there. The light glowed outside, and he wondered if it heard. That might have been the end of it, a nice night, a memory to tuck away, but Clara had other ideas. A week later, she was back at the shop, a battered guitar case in hand. "Found this at a thrift store," she said, setting it on the counter. "Thought of you. Play something." Walter stared, his chest tight. "I haven't touched one in 40 years, Clara." "I'd butcher it," she shrugged. "So butcher it. I'll play along, make it a duet." "Come on, Walter, what's it gonna hurt?" He wanted to say, no, too old, too rusty, too late, but her eyes, bright and daring, pinned him. He took the guitar, its weight familiar, and plucked a shaky G chord. It sounded awful, strings buzzing, but Clara laughed, sat at the shop's old upright piano, and matched him with a chord of her own. They stumbled through, "You Are My Sunshine," a mess of notes and giggles, and for the first time in years, Walter felt a spark, small, fragile, but real. That spark grew. Clara started coming by weekly, bringing sheet music, coaxing him to try. Walter fought it, his fingers stiff, his rhythm off, his mind screaming, "You're too old for this." He'd snap at her sometimes, "This is stupid, Clara. I'm no good." And she'd just smile, say, "Good's overrated. Keep going." She told him her own story one rainy afternoon, over tea in the shop, how she'd played piano since she was a girl, toured with a jazz band in her 20s, lost her husband to cancer a decade back. "Music kept me breathing," she said. "Still does. Figured it might do the same for you." He didn't argue, just strummed a clumsy House of the Rising Sun, and she played along, her notes smoothing his rough edges. One slow day, Clara brought an old mantel clock, a gift from her husband, its gears stuck. "Fix it for me?" she asked, and they worked together, Walter guiding her hands with a tiny screwdriver, their shoulders brushing. "You're good at this," she said, and he grunted. "Better than guitar." She laughed, and they finished it, the tick filling the shop, a new rhythm between them. Another time, she sat at the piano, patted the bench. "Try it," she said. He fumbled a C scale, keys clunking, and she guided his fingers, patient, until he hit a clear note. "See? Not just strings," she teased, and he smiled, small but real. They practiced in the shop after closing one night, the clocks ticking around them. Walter tried Blackbird, a song he'd loved in his teens, and butchered the picking pattern, strings squeaking. "Damn it," he muttered, dropping the guitar. Clara didn't flinch. "Pick it up," she said. "Start slow, 2 strings, then 4. You'll get it, He glared, but did it, and after an hour, the first verse came ragged, but recognizable. She clapped, her grin wide. "See? Told you." He shook his head, but kept the guitar out that night, playing till his fingers bled, the light on the hill his silent cheerleader. Walter dug out his old Gibson from the attic that week, its wood scratched but warm in his hands. He practiced alone, late at night, the light on the hill glowing through the window. Some nights, he'd fumble and quit, cursing himself. What's the point? I'll never be good again. Other nights, a chord would land right, clean and true, and he'd feel 17 again, the garage alive with sound. He remembered Ellen's laugh, his dad's gruff warnings, the bonfire's heat, and realized he wasn't chasing that old dream anymore, but something new. Clara noticed the shift. "You're getting it," she'd say, and he'd grunt, maybe, but he kept going, her faith tugging him forward. One afternoon, a kid Tommy, Mrs. Carter's grandson, wandered into the shop, eyeing the Gibson. "Play something?" he asked, gap-toothed and curious. Walter hesitated, then picked out "Winkle, Twinkle," slow and shaky. Tommy clapped, and Walter felt a flicker pride, maybe. That night, he recorded "House of the Rising Sun" on his phone, played it back rough, but his, and smiled, the light outside steady. One evening, over sandwiches at the shop, Clara opened up more. "After Dave died," she said, stirring her tea, "I'd play his favorite Moon River every night, like he'd hear it. Kept me from falling apart." Walter nodded, picking at his bread. "Ellen hated my playing, said it took me away." Maybe it did, Clara looked at him. Or maybe she didn't see what it gave you. Don't let that stop you now. He didn't answer, but strummed Moon River for her later, slow and shaky, and she sang along, her voice soft, their eyes meeting in the quiet. Their talks deepened, too. Over coffee at the shop, Clara shared her quiet sorrows, how she'd moved to Pine Hollow to start over, how the piano was her anchor when her husband faded. Walter opened up about Ellen's leaving, the silence that followed, the guitar he'd locked away. "Thought I'd missed my shot," he said once, staring at the light through the window. Clara touched his arm. "Shot's not gone, Walter. It's just waiting." He didn't know if he believed her, but he wanted to. Weeks later, they sat on his porch, the light glowing above. Clara brought her keyboard portable, beat up, and they played "Will the Circle Be Unbroken," the notes drifting over the hill. Walter hit a wrong chord, laughed first time in years, and Clara joined in, their voices blending. He looked at her, her face lit by the lantern, and felt something ease in his chest. The community concert came around again, and Clara pushed him. "Play with me," she said. "One song." "You're ready." He resisted. "I'll mess it up, Clara." "Folks'll laugh," she shook her head. "They won't. And if they do, we'll laugh louder," he agreed, nerves twisting his gut, and spent weeks practicing a simple tune, Wildwood Flower, a melody he'd loved as a kid. The night arrived, the center packed, the light on the hill visible through the open doors. Clara played the intro, her piano steady, and Walter strummed, his fingers shaky, but finding the notes. It wasn't perfect, strings buzzed. He missed a beat, but the crowd clapped, warm and kind, and Clara beamed. "Told you," she whispered, and he felt it happiness, not as a prize, but as a moment shared and alive. After that, Walter didn't stop. He played at home on the porch, the light on the hill his audience. Clara joined him sometimes, their duets drifting over Pine Hollow folk tunes, old standards, whatever felt right. Folks noticed Jim from the hardware store brought his banjo one night, picking along with a grin. Mrs. Carter sang Amazing Grace, her voice wobbly but sweet. Kids from town clapped on the steps, their sneakers tapping time. The porch became a gathering place, music weaving them together, and Walter realized he wasn't alone anymore. One night, Jim stayed late, strumming a blues riff. "Heard you played Rusty's back in the day," he said. "Schulda kept it up." Walter shrugged. "Maybe I am now." One Friday, the porch filled Tommy and his friends, Mrs. Carter with her sister, Jim and his wife, even old Mr. Hale, who rarely left his farm. They brought folding chairs, a thermos of cider, and Walter played The Wait, Clara harmonizing, Jim's banjo chiming in. Mr. Hale, voice creaky, told a story his dad, a fiddler, playing for barn dances in the 40s, gone too soon. "Music keeps him close," he said, and Walter nodded, feeling it too. He and Clara grew close, not romance, but something deeper, a friendship stitched with shared notes and quiet understanding. She'd bring soup on cold nights, sit with him under the light, and they'd talk about her jazz days, his garage band, the losses that shaped them. One afternoon, Walter found that old notebook in a box, yellowed pages, Ellen's eyes scrawled inside. He showed Clara, and she said, "Play it for me." He did, voice cracking, and she harmonized, their music a bridge across the years. One crisp fall day, Walter sat alone with the Gibson, the light flickering through the pines. He picked out a new tune, simple, slow about the hill, the light, the years he'd watched it. He called it Amber Glow, humming lyrics about waiting, waking, finding home. It wasn't Nashville worthy, but it was his. He played it for Clara the next night, her keyboard soft beneath his strings, and she smiled, tears in her eyes. "That's it, Walter. That's you." The next concert, he played Amber Glow with her, his first original in 40 years. The crowd hushed, then cheered, Jim whooping from the back. Walter looked out, the light on the hill shining through the doors, and felt it happiness, not a destination, but a sound, a shared breath under that steady glow. One night, he took Clara up the hill, first time he'd climbed it in years. They sat under the lamp, its buzz faint, and played Amber Glow again. Just them, the pines whispering. "Always thought it judged me," he said, nodding at the light. "Now it feels like it's listening." Clara squeezed his hand. "It's proud of you, Walter." "I am too." Back home, he set the Gibson on a small shelf in the living room, a photo of his dad beside it, stern but smiling. "Did it, Pop?" he murmured, and strummed a soft note, the light outside steady. One evening, as summer faded, Walter sat with Clara on the porch, the light glowing steady on the hill. He strummed a soft chord, she played a gentle run, and he said, "Thought happiness was gone, Clara." "You proved me wrong," she smiled, her eyes crinkling. "It's not gone, Walter. It's just been waiting for the right song, the right time." He nodded, looking at the light, and felt it not the dream of his youth, but a new one, built note by note under that steady glow. And so, dear listeners, that's the story of Walter and the light on the hill, a tale of dreams deferred, solitude endured, and the quiet courage it takes to start again, even when the years feel heavy. Walter didn't reclaim his past, but he found a new melody, one that lit his way forward, with a friend by his side and a town to share it. As you sit there, I wonder, is there a light on your own hill? A dream you've set aside? A tune you've stopped playing? What might happen if you picked it up again, if you let it sing? Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, take care of your heart, and don't be afraid to let it hum, even when it's rusty, even when it feels late.